Hello, friends. Today we have Cosmos Voice number 15, and our guest today is Josh. He is a developer advocate at Celestia Labs. Today we will speak about Celestia, about the programs of Celestia, and about opportunities for developers, and of course about modular blockchains. But let's start from you, Josh, can you tell us what was your journey to Web3, what you was doing before Web3, how you came to the Web3, and how you came from Web3 directly to Celestia?
Yeah, thank you for having me. That was I guess the first thing I said.
Yes, to tell something about your journey, or is that community understand?
I joined Web3 crypto through to something called Developer DAO and BuildSpace in 2021. It was basically finishing up school where I was studying supply chain management and doing a math minor. I had a little bit, I had a pretty decent background in my high school for computer science, and was just curious about coding. And basically I stumbled across something involving smart contracts where there was an artist selling artwork, and I thought this was really cool. I didn't know blockchains could do something more than transact and send funds back to, send funds between wallets. So yeah, that was kind of the point where the light bulb went off for me, where I was really curious about what was going on. This was during the, I guess, NFT summer or something is maybe what you could call it. And yeah, so Developer DAO and BuildSpace were two communities that I joined where I started to learn about what all of this really is. And BuildSpace helped me build my first smart contract, both on Ethereum at the time, and then I guess technically it's called a program on Solana. Yeah, so that was kind of how I got started. I worked for Anchor and KR, which was a RPC provider, for about 7 months. And just kind of got really curious about what else was out there at my time there. And Celestia is where I found myself after that. So I've been with the Celestia Labs for about 3 years now, actually, almost. And yeah, I've been focused on data availability. Honestly, having a really good time explaining what data availability is to people, and then also encouraging developers to use it in the weirdest ways possible. Where I think things that we know of that we've used on crypto rails, basically, applications, dexes, things like that, I think they're really cool. But I think the verifiability of Celestia is what's really unique to this project to me, and I think that's what long term is going to be really cool. So yeah, I guess hopefully that's a good enough of an intro. That was a long one, but yeah, if you have, I guess, questions about anything, happy to go from there.
Yes, maybe the question about your program background. What developer needs to know to become a developer advocate? Yes, is it important to know several program languages, or it can be the knowledge of the one program language, but only very high level? And also in general, developer advocates, this is person who protect the interests of the developers. Can you maybe tell a bit more about it?
Yeah, so I guess developer advocates and developer relations engineers kind of fall in the same sort of realm for me, where I guess I feel my job is to make sure developers are, have what they need, and when they have problems, their concerns are heard or their issues are seen by the right people and things like that. And then it's also kind of trying to translate that to people who aren't really, as much developers, maybe people who are curious, or someone like myself a few years ago who is new to this industry and trying to learn about what the heck is going on. So yeah, I guess in normal Web 2 world, I think there are developer advocates, there are DevRel engineers. There's also people that are technology evangelists and things like that. So yeah, I kind of see myself as someone who's here to explain it to developers, but also explain it to other people and kind of be the bridge for that. I kind of rambled. So yeah, what's the next, I guess, point that we were going on there?
So this is very interesting about what you think about this opinion that many blockchains created by developers and for developers. Yes, and do you think that Celestia is more blockchain from developers to developers and to other validators, or it's more, or it's not like this, and Celestia is also for the community or for any other types of the users?
Yeah, I guess I've remembered what your question was last time, so I'm going to answer that. The coding background that I had was Java from high school and some C++ or C# from robotics that I did then. And then when I was right before I started to kind of learn about crypto and all that, I started to learn how to make websites with Gatsby, which is some JavaScript framework. And that was kind of the first thing I did. So yeah, my coding experience started with websites. And since I've been at Celestia, I've learned more about DevOps and infrastructure and how the actual all of the pieces work together. And then going now to your new question, heads out here is I think Celestia, for the past, let's say 3 years, I've been working on this project. It feels like a very developer focused product where you're yeah, there's this chain. We have a lot of block space. We're continually growing our block space. Come post blobs on it. They're verifiable. That's not very easy for anyone to imagine what could be done there. Even if you think of it like messaging, it's still kind of hard to explain something that would use a verifiable key store rollup on Celestia versus Telegram, which one's really more safe for you. I guess without going too deep in the weeds, I think that Celestia is a very developer focused product, but I think now we're at the point where we've pretty much we know what that product is, and now creating a community of more consumer applications and toys and things that are actually useful for people that also tap into this verifiable data, whatever that use is. That's kind of what I'm really excited for. So yeah, I guess I'm aware of the fact that it's more of a developer product right now, but I think going forward, there's going to be a little bit bigger focus into using all these applications that are on Celestia, but then also the ecosystem that comes along with that, where things actually work together better because they're using the same source of DA, which is kind of that's really the grand vision. And I don't think we're at that point, but we're getting closer to it.
Maybe can you highlight more? Of course, I'm already in the discourse, yes, and I know pretty much about your developer programs, about your community programs. But for those people who not really familiar how Celestia invest funds to attract more developers and to develop community. Can you highlight, for example, your Mamathons and other programs shortly, this question is, how developers and community members who are not developers can find themselves in Celestia?
Yep, for sure. So I guess the two big things that we're focusing on now are bootcamps and hackathons. And the bootcamp right now, it actually just wrapped up last week. It was called Camp Memo, and this is basically a bootcamp where you can learn from 0 to 1, pretty much what Celestia is, and then you can learn about a few demo applications over the last 3 weeks of the course, basically, where you learn how to build different types of applications on Celestia. The last Mamathon was our first, first really big hackathon. and we had 11 teams win. They each were basically competing on 3 different tracks, where in each track you have a list of ideas and you can pick an idea. It's basically made that way so that people don't get too lost being creative and actually just like execute on something. Where like if you know generally what the thing that you're building, I guess I forget what the actual bounty was, but this is a project called Livy. It was called ZK Media during the hackathon, and it used succinct SP1 to basically prove that some type of media, whether that's like an image or a video or whatever, came from where it said it came from, basically. And you can think of this as a way to like, know what is real and what isn't. And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up, this project was really cool during the hackathon. Saul, who was basically like leading that team, did a pivot after the hackathon, and it's now called Livy Labs. And I think the coolest part of this like evolution was seeing this project start as a hackathon project and then transform into a new, second form of that project. And now we actually have used it in Camp Mamo as one of the examples for like what you can use to build on Celestia. So yeah, we're trying to basically like create this long living ecosystem where from our hackathons, we get projects that go on to be in like, content or like a partner in the next hackathon or the next bootcamp, but then also we want people to create projects that are going to last beyond the hackathon instead of just like collecting the bounty and moving on. So yeah, I guess like in terms of what's coming next, we're going to have a little bit of a pause here for about the next month before we even have like any announcements. And then we're aiming to do a hackathon in the month of November. So I'd say like, yeah, mid-October, kind of keep your eyes out. Beginning of November is around when we're aiming to start this hackathon. So yeah, I guess if you're a developer, this one's going to be focused on a lot of like JavaScript and front end. Like basically we want people to build some applications and not have to think too much about the underlying infrastructure. So in the past, like even with Mammothon 1, there's kind of still a big like requirement for you to learn how to manage some infrastructure, how to do DevOps work and things like that. And we think it'd be really cool if people can just kind of build some applications, deploy it to Vercel and call it a day. And I'm really excited to see what people do with that. So yeah, like I guess as much spoilers I can give, this hackathon will be focused a lot on building front ends, building applications instead of like getting too stuck in the weeds of like what rollups are and all that. So yeah, I guess like if you're really curious though, I do encourage you to still go check out Camp Mamo. Even though it ended, we're going to leave it open. And it was actually translated to Russian as well. So I think there's subtitles if it helps at least make things a little bit easier to digest. But yeah, that's like, I know it was another long spiel, but that's like that's what we got going on for the next few months. I guess the rest of the year.
So it's very interesting. So it means that now developers can join bootcamp, and as I understand, it's for free, get free knowledges how to build apps on the Celestia. And after these free courses and increasing their skills and know how to do it, it will be marathon where they can use these skills to build an apps and win the prizes. Also, it means earn funds. Am I understand right?
Yep.
This is for this developers need to be in some material space and go somewhere, or they can even participate online on this bootcamp.
Yeah, so the bootcamp's all online. And I think like the support for this will not be as deep as when the actual program was going on. Like, we're not going to be updating the examples as much and stuff like that. But yeah, it's going to be still out there. I think the best place to stay honestly updated on these sort of like developer announcements would be the Discord. Obviously, like, follow our Twitter or X as well. And we also have Celestia Devs account, which I can drop in the chat if I can find it.
Yeah, it would be really great if at first you send all the links to the chat, because after we will add it to the description of the video, or maybe maybe you can even share the screen and tell friends to apply for the bootcamp. Go this web page, click here, like fill this form that we have it on the video that everybody can do it.
All right, so yeah, I guess like I can drop the link in the chat. It's Camp Memo. There's multiple ways to get there, but it's in codeclub.com/program/Camp Memo. So yeah, we'll definitely drop that in the chat. You need to sign in to apply. You can do that with Google, so like OAuth or GitHub. I'll just do GitHub real quick. Once you're signed up, you'll see that Camp Memo in your programs. But now, if we're not registered, I'd be able to apply to join and then open the program after that. But yeah, just calling out again that this is kind of like, this ended last week, so we won't really be like doing too much hands-on support there. But if you want to join and learn about Celestia, I think that's the best place. Let's see, where else were we? I guess for the hackathon, yeah, just keep an eye out on both Twitters. But I guess also PostHuman will be helping announce some of that once it gets closer. And yeah, I guess really looking forward to the hackathon and seeing what people build for people to play around with and use. And yeah.
What is the prize pool of the hackathon? So
good question.
To make developers more interested in the participation, of course, the prize is important.
Yeah, so the prize pool is going to be the same as last time. It'll be $250,000 between 10 teams. Generally, the format will be the same for the hackathon, where we'll have some ideas to pick from, and you generally have to hack on that idea. You can have a little bit of like creative, leeway, but yeah, that's about all I can share right now. And I hopefully that's an exciting reason to get involved. Yeah, and I guess like going back to the point, or kind of like the high level goal of the hackathons is to really have teams develop and go past the hackathon instead of just collecting bounty and moving on. So I'm excited to see kind of what kind of projects come out of this.
So the developers team have opportunity not only win the big prize, but also after became kind of the part of the Celestia and building on Celestia more.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very great and interesting opportunity. But what's about community members, people who are not validators? For example, if they good in maybe design, or maybe they good in the community, or maybe they have any other humanitarian skills, how they can find themselves in the Celestia? I know that the Celestia also develop community program. So which skills or which people are required, and who can find themselves in the contributing for the Celestia development?
Yeah, so I'd honestly say that those type of people are the ones that we want to join the hackathon too. So another part that made the Mammothon special, and will make Mammothon 2, whatever we decide to call it, special, is also required to not only pick an idea, but join a team. So instead of being able to like solo hack and I don't know, maybe you're a good engineer, but like you don't have the product mind or you don't have the marketing or design mind. The goal of this team requirement is so that people form teams and work together and basically build these groups of people that are multidisciplinary, where you have an artist or a designer and like an engineer or two engineers and a product person and a marketing person. And honestly, like that was just all the options that I could think of right there. But like, so maybe you need more engineers than you need product and marketing people. But I think it's important for these hackathons for people to remember that like if you really want to build a long-standing project from one of these, you probably need to have those types of people in your team as well. So yeah, I guess like my recommendation would be to learn and as teams are forming in the Discord and such, when the hackathon starts, just share like who you are and what you're about and what you can do. And I think putting yourself out there is a big part of this in this industry, where if you share enough for other people to learn, there might be a spot for you. It might be surprising to you.
Yes, sounds very interesting because it's a pretty good money for the designers or community developers or project managers. Yes, find the developers and try to win one of the $25,000 prize with the opportunity to become a part of the Celestia. Sounds very interesting. I will, already some people, I know Marina with us, she's UI UX. I totally sure that we will join the hackathon together because UI UX is also very important. This is already not first hackathon. It was before. And I know that developers already created pretty big amount of the different apps. Can you introduce us the ecosystem of Celestia? Which apps you already have? And by your opinion, what do you think is the coolest apps maybe to tell, this is guys, this you really need to try, and also maybe you can give some insights and tell. It would be so wonderful if we will have such an app on the Celestia that maybe even share a screen and show where the people can be more familiar with the Celestia ecosystem.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And it feels like a cop-out because I'm just sharing the ecosystem page. But I think this is a good place to start. This is celestia.org/ecosystem. Kamagachi is one of the games actually that was, I think, like one of the most fun demos that I played around with. Derive is for more like if you're DeFi head, I guess. Plume is something for real world assets, and Modularium is like, I guess what like 2021 and 2022 me would get really excited about. This is an NFT marketplace. So those are like the, I guess, top highlighted ones on this page. But then if you look further, like, and scroll, it just kind of keeps going. So then brings us to the point where, like, because of Celestia being such a, I guess, like at the end of the day, it's a very boring thing. Like it's just a data availability layer, even though it has the super power verifiability. That allows you to build like any type of application on Celestia without being basically stuck with whatever that like execution environment is, which is like the bottleneck for many blockchains. So there's a lot of different like categories here. There's consumer. So Towns is like a decentralized Discord. I think that's really cool. I think I actually used it like a few years ago before it became like a rollup. Honestly, there's a lot of projects now that there's so many different things that I don't actually really even know all of them. So the DSCVR is the first time I've seen that. If you go into the DeFi category, there's actually a lot. And there's like all sorts of different flavors too, where like there's a poly market that's on Eclipse, which is a roll up. And then there's things like Milky Way, which is on Initia, which is a liquid staking protocol. Then Plume again, which is a real world asset protocol. I'd say gaming and art, I guess it looks like those are the two other big ones. Cloudlines was a fun demo. I remember playing around with that. But yeah, Kamagachi is the one that really sticks out to me here. And then for art, honestly, Modularium is really cool. I'd encourage you to like poke around there and check out the different like combo NFTs. There are these things called chimeras, which basically you can only make by combining other NFTs together and putting them up there. Yeah, so I guess that's pretty much like it though, right, like that I would say right now. I think unfortunately a lot of the applications that came out of Mammothon 1 did not they're not really like as much like an application as they, some of them were like developer tools, like Livy, for example. This is not a great example page, so stop sharing. Livy is basically still like in testing on Mocha, like in Exo Market, I guess, is one that came out of Mammothon 1 that is in beta/alpha phase, something like that. That's a conviction market, so you can think of it like a prediction market. But yeah, I guess we're really looking forward to seeing what this next round of applications brings. Mammothon 1 was really exciting. But it's always exciting to see what's next.
And what's your opinion? What you personally would like to see on the Celestia? Can you tell? Or it would be so nice if application with such functionality will arrive on Celestia.
Interesting question. It feels really basic, but I think Celestia is like a really good place for someone to build a chat application. And there's something called Prism that I'm pretty sure is working on this. But also it'd be interesting to see like what other ways people think of doing it. Just because Celestia is this place where anyone can post and then verify something. It'd be a good place for people to basically post like messages and then only them be able to be decrypted by, the intended recipient. I feel like payments is a big thing, but there's already a lot of those that exist. And I don't really have like, I think the verifiable chat app is like such a big thing that would go a long way in terms of probably actually helping people too. So yeah, that's like the one thing that I really want to see, to be honest.
Yes, very interesting, very interesting. I'm pretty sure that we need to have Web3 alternatives to the Telegram, Discord, because we, even if we are for Web3, we still use so many Web2 tools. What's about gaming on Celestia? Are you looking for the games on Celestia? What's your thoughts about Web3 gaming and how you think is Celestia is a good chain for GameFi?
Yeah, I think actually you're reminding me more of the Mammothon winners from last time. Evolute is a game that came out of that. To find their website. But yeah, Evolute was a game that was built with Dojo. So I guess if you're a game dev, I'd suggest checking out Dojo. I think that's like probably the best thing to use right now. And then also like Evolve is another one if you're more of like someone who's willing to explore the DevOps and like maintenance side of all this. And that's just ev.xyz. But I guess I think that's pretty much all I had to share. Is there anything else that you were
it's very interesting also to speak about NFTs, as you told. Manerium is very interesting app on the Celestia, and also it's two very famous NFT collections on Celestia, Celestian Slots and Mammons. Can you maybe tell something about Celestian Slots and Mammons, and and maybe you can tell about some other interesting NFT collections, or maybe you have some information about updates in Celestian Slots or in Mammons, and will be any new collections from the Celestia, because looks like they get a lot of attention.
Yeah, I actually don't know anything about new collections. I don't even have a sloth either. I just happen to get lucky, like minting the mammoth in time. But yeah, like I guess I don't really have too much to share on there. Like, yeah, I think the speculation behind NFTs is kind of dangerous. So like, I guess like they're cute if you like them. The art's cool. But yeah, I think in terms of NFTs, I don't know anything else, and I don't actually expect too much to change anytime soon.
Okay. We will speak with some artists from the Celestia about NFTs.
Nice.
And with the developers, better to speak about the development. And it's interesting which updates on the Celestia will be near time. We heard about decreasing of inflation. Can you highlight some main changes that are waiting, that we can expect it in the near future, and how do you think how it will affect Celestia in general?
Yeah, I don't know if I can say how I think it'll affect anything, but I know that basically our next upgrade is defined. Like, we know what will be in it, and right now it's basically in a last call stage on the Celestia improvement proposals. These are the Celestia improvement proposals, and CIP 42 is called the Matcha Network Upgrade. This is the version 6 of our consensus state machine. And this is a meta CIP, so it includes all of the improvement proposals that are listed in this. So basically, 36 and 37 are going to reduce the amount of resources that like DA nodes require. So this makes light nodes lighter, because we're also basically like developers have decided to increase the maximum block size, square size, and transaction size. So the block size is going to go from 8 megabytes every 6 seconds to 32 megabytes every 6 seconds. And the transaction size quadruples from 2 megabytes to 8 megabytes, which is honestly like an insane amount of data throughput. So yeah, I guess like those are the really like big DA changes there. I think the hyperlane filter being removed for IBC, the token filter being removed for hyperlane and IBC is pretty dope. Where it just doesn't restrict as what's going through Celestia. And this one's a little bit over my head. I think if you're into learning about how Comet / Tendermint works, I'd read into this one. But yeah, and then I guess the real big one that everyone's looking at is reducing issuance to 2.5%. So yeah, these are some big changes. This should come a little bit quicker than the version 4 upgrade took. But yeah, I guess like honestly, the things that I'm excited for in this one are this block size increasing, so we can see like really how the network handles bigger blocks. Because yeah, we did a pretty good job of keeping things around the same time, like when we went from 2 megabytes to 8, for example. But this is another big jump.
So, if some community members or developers want also to participate in the discussion, or maybe they have some cool ideas and advices, or just want to discuss new proposals, where is the best way to do it? How they can participate in the decentralized governance?
Yeah, Discord for sure. Yeah, best place to get started is Discord. I think that has the most options for like different types of channels and just the most people that'll be online.
We'll add the link on the Discord in the description of the video. For now, we already have a brilliant timing. And maybe we didn't ask you something that you think that important to tell. Maybe you have something like a message for people who will watching us in the record, or maybe you have a call to action, or maybe you just want to share some information that we didn't ask.
Man, I don't like being put on the spot. I guess like at Celestia Labs, or like people working on Celestia have said build whatever for I guess a few years now, and I think for a long time it's been kind of confusing almost, where you're like there's so many things that you could do, you're paralyzed by how much choice there is and how many options there are. And so like building whatever when it comes to like a roll up is like pretty difficult. But if you're just able to build whatever when it comes to an application and still use that high throughput DA, I still think you should do it. So yeah, I guess like for, like 2 months from now, almost, when the hackathon starts, I do still want people to think about building whatever and being creative and like taking advantage of this throughput that's verifiable and use it for things that are different. So yeah, I guess like I mentioned like the chat application. I think voting is another thing that would be really cool to see done on chain in a way where people's privacy is preserved, but also like the system works for the people. And I think a lot of places in the world would benefit from something like that. So yeah, I guess like what my closing words are like to keep it weird and build whatever, and keep bending the rules as much as we can to build things that are useful for people. Yeah.
It's amazing. Yes, blockchains for people. This is brilliant ending of our Cosmos Voice number 15. Thank you, Josh, for visiting us, and thank you for highlighting so many cool and interesting opportunities as for developers, as for community members. We are really interested in the development of the Celestia and the participation, get new knowledge and get opportunity to win the prizes. I think this is the best combination for any person who wants to find themselves in the Web3 and in general, and in Celestia in particular. So thank you very much for visiting us. And if you will have something new, we're always glad to see you on the Cosmos Voice with presentation of something interesting.
Yeah, I'll be back. We'll do that. And we'll do that in a few months. Yeah. Thank you again for having me. And thank you everyone for joining. And also your shirt is sweet.
Very nice. Thank you. Friends, on this beautiful words, blockchain for the peoples, we are finishing Cosmos Voice number 15. Join us tomorrow on the Cosmos Voice number 16. We will speak about gaming in Cosmos, and we'll... the Dungeon chain already built 3 different games on their chain, and they will show us how to start to play these games on the blockchain, what's the difference between these games, and they make it very in the cool way of the old Dandy Sega. Looks really interesting and nice. And one more time, Josh, thank you for your time. And thank you, Celestia, for developing whole Web3 and giving so much opportunities. Bye-bye, friends. See you soon.